Just when you thought that nothing could top the technical prowess and superior gameplay of the second Tmnt adventure on the NES, which by the way was an 8-bit port to the arcade version, Konami have gone back to the drawing board and once again worked harder than ever to push the NES to breaking point in order to produce another awesome adventure. Released in 1992, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 The Manhattan Project is yet another side-scrolling beat-em-up featuring everyone's favourite heroes in a half shell who are vacationing in Florida when their old adversary Shredder returns to New York City and literally takes the entire city and then dispatches the Foot Clan to Florida to wipe out the ninja teens. It's up to Leo, Donnie, Raph and Mikey to fight across the beaches and docks, dispatching foot soldiers, rock soldiers and various characters from the Tmnt universe in order to make their way back to Manhattan to not only stop old Shredhead and bring the city back, but to also rescue April O'Neil. Honestly, you would think that after being kidnapped multiple times, she would learn to stay out of Shredder's way. Right from the off, you can select from any 4 of the turtles, who once again are broken down into 2 categories. Leonardo and Donatello are long-range fighters, meaning that their weapons will take out foes from a slightly longer distance, whilst Raphael and Michelangelo are short-range fighters, which also means they can only attack with their weapons when the enemy is closer. Each turtle can perform a flying jump kick and also a special move, which although helps to readdress the balance when you are getting your shell handed to you, this will also drain your health, so great care must be taken to use this move sparingly and wisely. One thing this game has in common with the second adventure is that once again you have to adopt strategy when fighting certain enemies and bosses. There are far more foot soldiers in this game than ever before, and anyone thinking that Konami would just palette swap some colours will be surprised. Each different soldier comes in multiple colours and each group attacks differently. Your standard purple ones will try and hit you and are primarily the weakest, the white ones are equipped with swords, sometimes whips, and the blue ones also throw knives, and there's even some boomerang throwing yellow enemies also. So you get the idea, this game is absolutely massive. Each stage is jam-packed full of them, and not just members of the Foot. Rock soldiers, Mousers, dangerous stage hazards and flying nasties are just some of the carnage you will encounter as you try and battle your way through New York City. The intro and cutscenes are some of the best I've ever seen. On the NES, I mean Konami have gone all out and it really feels like an actual TMNT cartoon or comic adventure, with the game not only once again replicating an episode of the first Turtles cartoon, but it also brings in other elements from the second movie, Secret of the Ooze, with Tokar and Razor included as later bosses, and to me it's just an incredible game that dramatically improves upon the second by being a little more balanced while still offering up one hell of a challenge. Don't get me wrong, this game is no cakewalk, and the first few times I played through I got beaten down more times than I can remember. However, despite this I was able to quickly learn from my mistakes and carry on. One of my goals for this video was to defeat Leatherhead. No matter what I did, he just seemed to take what felt like hundreds of hits and would beat me time and time again. Once I realised that I had to take my time and attack carefully, I took him down far easier than ever before. I never managed to beat the game just playing normally, but I did actually manage to beat the first Shredder encounter and make it to the latter half of the game, so I consider this a massive achievement. However, in order to properly review this game, I did use a Game Genie just to take a look at the final sections of the game, and holy hell, it never gets any easier. Luckily, this game does have a 2-player mode, so I would recommend inviting a friend over and working together through the game for maximum results. The gameplay is just so comfortable, with Konami adopting an if it ain't broke don't fix it approach to the easy pick up and play control style that worked in their last game. And if you combine this with much richer and darker and detailed graphics, you have one hell of a game. I'm not kidding when I say that this 8-bit game feels like it's trying so hard to be 16-bit and doing a damn fine job. And it's not just the graphics either, it's the little things like enemies jumping through windows, smashing glass just to beat you up, or foot soldiers carrying heavy items to throw at you, and even jumping off a train in the subway to try and ambush your chosen protagonist. There is some minor flickering again as the NES is working so hard, but it never becomes a problem, and with a game this tubular I really didn't mind. Let's take a look at some of the bosses you'll be facing this time round. Well, Bebop and Rocksteady return. Rocksteady is the first boss you'll face, and despite being a little spammy, he is actually pretty easy. There's Slash, a crazy deformed turtle who waits for you midway across the Bridge of Danger, and my eyes were literally popping out of my head as I couldn't believe how cool his shell attack was. As for Bebop, friggin' hell, this is one tough warthog, as rather than just give him a gun like in the first game, he now has a ball and chain on his head that extends and can dole out some serious damage. There's Ground Chuck, a character I'm not familiar with, so I assume he's from the comics. He was one challenging opponent as he can charge at you multiple times and on occasion uses a broken metal pipe to lamp you with. There's Dirtbag, this really spammy mole who attacks you in the sewers with a massive pickaxe and circular laser beams from his helmet, and Leatherhead, the wicked tough alligator who was such a thorn in my side for so long. My entire problem with this fight was that I like to try to jump attack him, and this works initially for a little bit, but then after attacking, he will then start to spin attack you, so you need to attack him and then try and get out of his way. He is armed with a gun, but that's pretty easy to avoid most of the time. I would say that he's one of the hardest bosses in the game, even harder than my first encounter with Shredder. There's Tokar and Razor, and they're on the latter parts of the game, and every time I fight Razor I can't help thinking of the disco scene in The Secret of the Ooze when they are being fed donuts with vanilla ice wrapping throughout. There are a few other bosses, but I don't really want to spoil them if you have not played this game. Suffice to say, you will be quite surprised as to who the last boss is. With this being another top tier beat 'em up from Konami, was there anything that I didn't like? Well, that's a tough one for me. I mean, most of my problems I had came from my inexperience with the game. I would get so overwhelmed due to the constant enemies that litter each stage, and after losing so frequently early on, I would have said that this game is just incredibly hard. However, after multiple playthroughs, my opinion softened and changed when I learned to get good with this game. I took my time to break down the various enemy patterns and would use different attacks on each group, meaning I would conserve a little more health each time. Again, it's the same with the bosses, you just have to grit your teeth and try and work out what they are doing. Spamming them relentlessly will only get you killed quicker, and it's much better to back off and observe just what they are doing first before going in for an attack. I suppose if I was being super critical, some parts of the game should have been toned down a little. For example, there's this part here on the Technodrome which forces you to walk on a moving track. Then you have to avoid wave upon wave of laser traps which spam you and come at you so fast that they become not only an annoyance, but I can't always see them because I have to worry about the foot soldiers. Also, I got so fed up of fighting these same robots here time and time again. Despite these little niggles, I do feel that Tmnt 3, the Manhattan Project, is right up there as a must play. For those of you struggling with the second game, I would say give this one a go, as it's far shorter, challenging, and just requires patience and repetition to get further through this awesome game. Thank you so much for watching my review. If you have enjoyed it, then why not subscribe to my channel, because you'll really be helping my channel to grow and you'll instantly be notified every time I upload a new video. Take care, and I'll see you next time for another Dodge This review.